Introduction. In this video we sling to Hazyview from Wonderboom with our friends Deon and Mari from Springs with the Cherokee 235 for a midweek breakaway. We stay at the Kruger Park Lodge and visit the Kruger National Park and some other tourism attractions in the vicinity. We also visit and inspect several other airfields in the vicinity. We had to contend with some airplane problems on both airplanes. We do reviews of the lodge and provide some general aviation tidbits. Planning. Destination. We prefer to stay outside the Kruger National Park. We have some timeshare points and it has been a while since we stayed at Kruger Park Lodge or flown to Hazyview. We thus decided on a midweek break and booked a 6-sleeper unit months in advance, and closer to the time invited Deon and Mari to join us. Local travel. We booked a car from Kruger Airport to be delivered at the Hazyview airfield for our local drive arounds. Landing strip. The Hazyview grass landing strip is normally well maintained by the owners of the Numbi Hotel. We just had to confirm with the on-site manager Wally that this was still the case after the COVID lockdowns. Route. The route was very simple and direct from Wonderboom, routing through only 5 airspaces. We decided to route around the Kruger special rules. This resulted in 162 nautical miles, which implied about an 86 minutes flight for us. Deon decided to route through the Kruger special rules from his angle from Springs. This time I did my route planning with my usual locally developed EasyPlan as well as with the UK developed SkyDemon to compare the functionality. I also investigated the newest flight planning extension in Windy. Review of SkyDemon versus EasyPlan. The major difference is that SkyDemon has a more modern non-modal interface with some very nice tabbed overlay windows with relevant information, which I actually prefer. EasyPlan still has a more traditional modal interface that is only one active screen at a time. Forecasted weather handling is much the same, but EasyPlan has a local advantage on short-term forecasts and actuals from the SA Aviation Weather Service. Both can, however, be highly recommended for pre-flight planning. For our specific mission, the local supported EasyPlan won out, mainly due to more complete local data on airspaces and especially smaller available airfields. For this specific flight, for instance, the LAS was not available in SkyDemon, a significant omission. On the mobile versions, SkyDemon has very nice vertical features, even warning and with visual trajectory, indicating impending airspace incursions from below. Cockpit lacks greatly in this regard, with only an airplane relative topology shading as the only vertical feature. The modal versus non-modal overlays difference is also very prevalent here. Both can, however, be highly recommended for in-flight navigation. Cockpit won again due to the airspace and airfield data requirements for our specific missions, as well as a local-based in-flight radar and satellite weather displays, which I use frequently in marginal weather situations. Some pilots license both applications, which is probably the best overall solution, but a bit of an overkill. I was also impressed with the capabilities and display of the window flight planning extension, which includes the local South African airspaces. It gives a very powerful horizontal plus vertical perspective of the route, topology, and important weather aspects in one integrated view. Weather planning. On the longer term forecasts, quite a number of weather issues such as rain, thunder and low clouds were identified on the outbound journey. Fortunately, the available window of opportunity gradually got slightly longer as our departure date got closer, but we still had to plan to leave early. Even up to the day before our return journey, 4 days later, low clouds were forecasted early in the morning. We would have to wait up to around 11 o'clock for the low clouds to lift before we could take off. Almost all the days before, in between and after our planned traveling days were not VFR flyable. Getting there. On the morning after departure, we were greeted by lots of higher clouds as forecasted. Our favourite airplane Whiskey Mike Mike was available and ready for us at Wonderboom Airport with full fuel tanks.
Whiskey Mike Mike 182, accept the takeoff climb to 6,000 feet.
We took off around 7 o'clock from runway 29er to dodge potential thunderstorms later. Deon and Mari had some problems starting the airplane with their recently installed new battery and had to wait for the IMO to support. They only took off a lot later from Springs. Both airplanes had stable flights and a mostly overcast cloud coverage. We flew on flight level 075 in Johannesburg North Information Space and an initially unmanned low-level airspace. Deon decided to stay low level for his short remaining distance outside the Johannesburg Special Rules area.
7 hours endurance on a flight from Wonderboom to Hazyview. Flight level on request 075, already maintaining. Whiskey Mike Mike.
Whiskey Mike Mike, confirm clear of the Pretoria GF2.
Just outbound from the GF2. Whiskey Mike Mike.
Whiskey Mike Mike, no reported traffic, flight level 75, report the low-field boundary.
Low-field boundary next, no reported traffic. Thank you, Whiskey Mike Mike.
Whiskey Mike Mike, broadcast 119, decimal 0, to the QNH 1023.
QNH 1023, broadcast 119, decimal 0, Whiskey Mike Mike, other man. Low-field, Zulu uniform, Whiskey Mike Mike, good morning. That's a man for now.
Unmanned for now.
Low-field traffic, Zulu uniform, Whiskey Mike Mike, just inbound into the area on the route from Wonderboom to Hazyview on flight level 075, Whiskey Mike Mike.
Whiskey Mike Mike, low-field, go ahead.
Whiskey Mike Mike, aircraft type Sling 2, routing from Wonderboom to Hazyview, 2 on board. Whiskey Mike Mike.
Whiskey Mike Mike, copy Wonderboom to Hazyview. Right identified focus 67660. Report ready for your descent.
Ready for descent next, Whiskey Mike Mike.
The slight detour outside the Kruger Special Rules area proved worthwhile, as we could descend earlier through a very pretty valley over Sabu, whereas the direct route would still be over the escarpment mountains. The Sling arrived first at Hazyview. The runway was very distinguishable from the air. Wally gave us all the required info and we could do a normal unmanned joining procedure for runway 19er without an inspection run.
View traffic, Whiskey Mike Mike, left hand base for 19er. Hazyview traffic, Whiskey Mike Mike, final 19er.
We had a normal landing, but when we got to the hangar Wally organized for us, our right hand main wheel was flat. Wally organized a compressor and we pumped it, but it went flat again almost immediately. The Cherokee arrived, also did a normal unmanned joining procedure and landed on the runway 19er. Review of the runway. 0119er runway is 830 meters long by 50 meters wide with a soft grass surface at 1740 feet altitude. It's essentially a one-way in 19 and a one-way out 01 runway due to the central trough inclination and a small hill on the southern side. Hangars are available. 2 parking areas are also available next to the runway and next to the Nimbe Hotel, both to the west of the runway. The windsock is to the east at the 19 threshold on top of the hangars, being there. Before you could go anywhere, I first had to repair the flat tyre. Fortunately, I had to repair a flat front tyre on our own Sling before and had some idea what was involved. With Deon's help and David from FlightCare's telephonic support, we managed to get the wheel off and loosen the rim halves, but we could only get the tyre off the rim halves by taking it to a nearby tyre repair shop. 4 hours and a lot of sweat later, the tyre with a new tube from the FlightCare repair kit was back on. In the meantime, our car was delivered from Skukuza and we could drive to our accommodation at Kruger Park Lodge. Over the next 3 days we went into the Kruger National Park twice and had some good wildlife sightings. Unfortunately, we lost our footage on one of our cameras through a technological glitch. We also had several delicious meals at restaurants in the vicinity and at the Kruger Park Lodge on-site restaurant. We also visited several tourism attractions in the vicinity. While we traveled to these attractions, we also made some detours to inspect several airfields for future reference. With the rental car availability in Skuza, this 1,550 meter long asphalt runway is actually a very good option for landing for visits to the Kruger National Park. As forecasted, the weather was mostly not VFR flyable during our stay, emphasizing the inherent dangers of escarpment routes. Review of the lodge. Various different timeshare accommodation types are available. Our 6 sleeper unit had 2 bedrooms, one with an en-suite bathroom with a bath. The separate common use bathroom had a shower. Our unit had a well-furnished open-plan lounge, dining and kitchen area. The private braai was secluded next to the outdoor patio. Each unit has its own carport. There are lots of outdoor activity facilities such as an 18-hole golf course, children playgrounds, putt-putt, swimming pools, walking paths, hippo pool, etc. We had excellent meals and service at the G's at KPL on-site restaurant with its indoor and patio areas next to the one outdoor pool. We can highly recommend a stay at Kruger Park Lodge and we'll probably be back again ourselves. Getting back. On the morning of our departure 4 days later, we had a leisurely breakfast to wait for the forecasted low clouds to lift. We then drove back to the airfield to prepare the airplanes. We left the car at the Nimby Hotel reception. After we had to assist with the jump start from an extra battery, the Piper took off first at around 11 o'clock on the preferred takeoff runway 01. Due to the repaired tyre, I did not want to backtrack the full runway 01 and decided to rather take off on the runway 19er, fully trusting the takeoff capability of the Sling. I did the shortest distance climb out at 68 knots. On the review of the 360 footage afterwards, the safety margin was less than I expected. And I would not recommend a runway 19er takeoff unless you know the capabilities of your airplane very well. On the review I could probably also have released the flaps earlier to provide a bit more safety margin over the rising ground and buildings on the southern side.
Traffic in the Hazyview area, Sling Whiskey Mike Mike, just airborne out of Hazyview airfield, will be route to Sabi, just outside the special rules area, Whiskey Mike Mike.
We went outside the Kruger special rules and climbed out through the Sabi Valley again.
Low level traffic in the Sabi vicinity, Sling Whiskey Mike Mike, flying overhead Sabi, climbing through 6,400 to 8,500, routing to Wonderboom, Whiskey Mike Mike. Low level traffic in Sabi, Leidenburg area, Sling Whiskey Mike Mike, climbing through 8,000 feet, routing from Sabi to Wonderboom.
As usual for this time of day, we experienced some turbulence, even at flight level 085, very close to the cloud base. We are cleared for the Wonderboom CTR from Victoria GF number 2 on the special rules corner for a join south of Rhodopla Dam on a long final for 29er. As usual, Wonderboom is quite busy again.
Whiskey Mike Mike, expect a late landing clearance, continue the approach.
Continue approach, late expected, Whiskey Mike Mike.
Thank you Deon and Mari for joining us for an enjoyable midweek break. Thank you Father God for the privilege of flying and the beautiful weather in between the non-flyable weather days.